So I think my presentation is actually really good that I'm following that panel because it will speak a lot to what Jonathan was alluding to in terms of form and function and advertising in the mobile space. So do I just click this forward? There we go. So at Kargo, we sort of see the world, the way that we phrase it is Mobilegeddon. And the idea here is that the mobile device is actually going to take over the world. We've heard it all before. There's a Mary Meeker report that comes out yearly that shows this attention exodus from many different screens, but it shows a huge opportunity in mobile. It's about a $25 billion advertising gap in terms of the attention people are giving to mobile. This is a stat from eMarketer that in 2019, about 70% of all digital ad spend will be in the mobile space. At Kargo, we think this is a little bit of an aggressive stat, but we see it increasing exponentially. And it's just the beginning, right? It's this world that's being recreated for the mobile phone. If we think about, this morning I woke up to the alarm that was on my iPhone. The stat about 220 times a day that we check our phone. Our lives, our identities are completely being recreated by the mobile phone. Even today, there are more mobile devices in the world than toothbrushes. I mean, that's a pretty disgusting thought, right? And even babies, 1 out of 7, are spending about an hour a day with a mobile device before the age of 1. And my husband made the correlation that there's no wonder there's more devices than toothbrushes because 1 out of every 7 baby, before they even have teeth, are using a mobile device, right? So it kind of correlates. But we have to imagine that these aren't even the millennials. And so what are we going to expect, or what are these babies going to expect from us in the future in terms of that connectivity? Teens, 4 out of 5 are sleeping with their phones. How many of you sleep with your phone? I sleep with my phone. Anybody? Oh, it's more than that. I know it. If you look at the sources that we're citing in terms of the babies and the teens, you'll see that it's medical, right? So what's happening is that there's actually an addiction forming in terms of the way that we, view our phones. I mean, I don't care if I lose my credit cards, my keys. If I lose my phone, it is sheer panic. And so there's actually addiction programs out there to deal with tech addictions. And entire generations are essentially not ever disconnected from the mobile internet. And so by 2020, we have the stat here that the average person will have about 4.3 devices for themselves. And this is probably almost true in the United States, but this is something that we're seeing globally. And the internet's going to get closer and closer to our bodies. We're used to holding phones up to our heads. We have our Bluetooth in our ear, but now it's like it's on our wrist, right? And so wearables, we see a huge opportunity here. We're going to see an increase of about 240% in the next 4 years to 600 million wearable devices. But it's not stopping there. Google has developed a contact lens that not only corrects vision, but also monitors your blood sugar levels. So, it's really interesting to see how we're evolving mobile into many different forms. And so it's no surprise that the world is changing, and it's changing fairly radically. And the question really is, and I feel that this has been covered already a lot this morning, but is our marketing changing fast enough for the mobile future? At Kargo, we would say no. Although we've had a lot of success in the mobile advertising space to date. But a lot of that's because we're putting a lot of effort and resources and research behind what we're recommending to our marketing partners. Jonathan alluded to this. So, essentially, creative marketing continues to develop assets for a linear TV world, or maybe they're doing it for digital desktop. But it's really hard to ram those assets into the mobile platforms and the mobile ad products that we're creating. And so the ramifications are huge, right? Think ad blocking in particular. There's some legend that supposedly it was men like 18 to 34 who developed ad blocking because they kept seeing 30-second spots before a 2-minute video. And so the ratio was really off, and they were really good at coding and were able to develop this blocking system. The average user session on a mobile phone is about 60 seconds, and so we need to make sure that the creative assets really mirror that. And I would say that we still haven't really figured out what to do with this screen. Like we said, again, I'm repeating this probably for the 3rd time, but we're checking our phone 220 times a day. Those places that we're checking the phone, whether it's email, it's an alarm you're turning off, you're in an app, they aren't necessarily the right places for marketers to speak to you. But marketers want to be there because your attention's there. And so, when we checked polls on consumer happiness with, engaging in the mobile space and advertising, we found that consumers feel that marketing on the mobile phone is actually an invasion of their personal space. And there's no other medium out there in terms of where you're marketing where they feel that it's an invasion of their personal space. So we really have to be careful how we're marketing in this space. 3 things to consider: what types of ads, where to run those ads, and how to buy and sell mobile ads. The first is really form and function. Creating ads that are more in keeping up with time spent on these phones. And this is a Microsoft study. You may have seen this stat before, but essentially the human attention span is a second less than a goldfish. And think about it, right? We're on Snapchat. Are these playing? Okay, good. When people are on Snapchat, you don't really want to view a video longer than 8 seconds. And so Snapchat is really forging. Oh, sorry about that. Will those play on their own? Oh. Forging the way with vertical video, and they're saying you can't have a 30-second spot on our app. It has to be 6 seconds. And as you can see here, native has to be in stream, and it has to really fit within the iframe in order for it to be contextually relevant and for a consumer to feel that it truly is native and it's not invasive or screwing up their user experience within the phone. There we go. So these are some of the activities that people are doing on their phones. And you'll notice that not all of these, again, are marketable opportunities, right? Millennials are spending 95 minutes a day texting. Imagine if you started receiving marketing in your texting chats with your friends or your husband or whomever it might be. You'd be pretty upset about that. Again, disrupting that personal space opportunity there. But what we really care about at Kargo is the content experience, and that's not represented here necessarily. We care about how consumers are reading content, how they're sharing content on their phones. And what we have found is that the content experience is keeping in line with Facebook, which is about 40 minutes a day. And just because people are spending time in these places, again, is it the right place to drop marketing on them? And so what we wanted to do is we did a little internal test. I'm going to show you a video here. It's an internal research piece where we wanted to compare someone's user experience within the Facebook feed to that of consuming content on New York Times. And so we did this with 30 people, and we gave them each a phone. We monitored it with Moat scroll velocity as well as a video camera. And basically we said, okay, we want you to go into Facebook, scroll the feed as you would normally would. We want you to go into New York Times, read the content as you would. And then we were able to measure what they did. So as you can see, the consumer on Facebook is scrolling quite quickly versus the person who's on the New York Times, right? And the average ads that the person on the Facebook side is seeing is 3 in that 15 seconds, and the number of ads seen on New York Times is 1. So if you marry that with the scroll velocity from Moat in terms of 231 pixels per second versus 50, what that nets out is an average seconds seen per ad. And so you can see that the time spent on the New York Times is 5 versus the 1.5 on Facebook. So it's really important that we understand what is the content they're consuming, whether they're checking out their ex's vacation pics, a concert photo versus really experiencing relevant content. So there's a reason for them to stay and read on that page. But it's really important to understand the context that content plays in all of this versus what might be just Facebook experience. And we find that on the agency side, they're quick to just buy Facebook, but they're not necessarily quick to understand the importance and relevance of really good quality content on a mobile phone. So at Kargo, our job is really to make it easier for you to buy this mobile space programmatically. We want you to be able to buy rich media units, content publishers, and then have a really easy sort of one-click opportunity to buy this medium. This is an example of our monetization platform. Right now, this is an internal tool that our campaign managers, our sales team, as well as all of our engineers, ad products, we all work within this space. And we're rolling it out in 2016 as a programmatic platform. And by mid-year next year, this will be a self-service option that we will be entertaining publishers joining and being able to buy directly from the platform. And the goal here is really to create scale across mobile inventory. We currently work with some of the biggest brands in the publisher space across the world. And we really want to help centralize mobile strategy. That's really our goal, and deploy mobile appropriate ad products across device. This is an example of how you might enter into the platform and start with all the different criteria that meet the campaign metrics. So think about ordering a pizza, right? You're going to pick all your different toppings that really help you meet your KPIs. And it might be anything from categories to geo-targeting to putting first-party data integration into the campaign. Let me see here. And then what happens from that point is that once all that criteria is entered into the system, Kargo has been collecting data for the last 3 years that will help you align your campaign metrics with the types of ad creatives that you should use. So again, it's all about how do we create that, that experience, where you want to tap into that consumer on their mobile device, and what is the right ad format to do so. What's not in here is an ad builder that we're creating as part of the tool, so you can actually create these creatives directly within this mobile monetization platform. This is an example of how we create metrics around different ad creatives. So if you want to click into the different textiles on the ad creative, you can see the different KPIs that already meet these different ad creative types. So it's really, really informative, and it's the type of things that we think will help move people into the mobile future by paying a little bit more attention to what really matters in the mobile space when you're trying to market to a particular consumer. And then properties, right? So different ad creatives don't work across every single mobile property. Like you saw with the New York Times experience, middle banners, native middle banners work really well, but you're not necessarily going to do an intrusive ad that pops into the page and covers the content. That's not the right experience for that particular content platform. And so once you've picked the creative types, we then generate a list of quality content publishers and where it might meet the right fit in terms of the ad creative. And this is an example of something that we're in development of. Once the mobile monetization platform launches, this is an example of a, think about it, like you receive an RFP and then you have to create a PowerPoint and send it back to your agency team. Well, this platform will automatically generate something that looks as beautiful as this, which is, the full campaign laid out, all the metrics, the costs, the CPMs, the impressions, and it can be shared with a creative team, an agency team, a buying team, as well as the client, so that you can all work within this digital space to approve things, ask for iterations, send it to the creative team to say, these are the different creative types we want to work out for this campaign. And it's a very simple one-click send out and opportunity. So I think that's pretty cool. And it's the way I think we're going to move in the future. And of course, at Kargo, we already have this available to our publisher partners as well as our internal team. But we want to make sure that this is available on your mobile phone so that you can be checking campaigns, tracking your daily impressions, how much money are you making. That's the end goal, right? And so we actually have an app where you can do almost all of these different things right there on your mobile phone. And here's a little bragging stuff about Kargo. Thank you. Does anybody have any questions? Thank you.